AV's Bodega is live, and I've got Cardo here. And just big shout out real quick to Stay Bad, Blunts and Baddies. You can get them at a couple of different spots. You can jump on Dispo Hype to find out the locations, but go out and support. We're talking indoor flower, live resin, live diamonds. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we're working with you, Cardo, on this. Yes. CIA, thank you so much for all you've done helping us get this launched. It's been an incredible journey, and it started with one of our first weed leases here at Lazy Daze.
It sure did.
So we have a great relationship with Lazy Daze up on Indian School and Eubank. They've allowed us to come over here and take over. It's a coffee shop. It's like Amsterdam style coffee, but a consumption lounge. So you can come over here, get your baddie, get your blunt, get some other products, kick back, chill with your friends, play cards, do stuff. It's a great place to be. Right?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite places here in Albuquerque. It's one of the only places you actually can come and consume cannabis.
There you go.
You know, in a social setting, which is something new to people. Right?
And it's a great thing, man. You know, for years I felt like I had to live inside of a box and hide my true feelings for my love for Mary Jane.
Right.
But here in the last couple of years, everything's come to light here in New Mexico. There's some legislation passed. We're able to go ahead and consume 21 and older, consume cannabis and be able to enjoy it. And now there's other legislation in play that's allowing them to start testing it and the benefits to cannabis.
Right.
But we're speaking on legislation. Let's talk about the trip we took up to Santa Fe today.
Yes.
Talk about the bill. Tell us what the bill entails, and then let's get into it.
Well, you know, we're talking about this House Bill 294. It's basically around the packaging of cannabis and its effect on attractiveness to minors, right? I guess the goal is to...
Hold on, before we go further, I just want to say it's rolled over to the next session.
Yes.
Which is good news.
It's good news.
Okay, so talk about it, the packaging.
So, you know, essentially the bill that's trying to be passed right now is basically trying to regulate how the packaging is presented to the public, mostly to keep it from the hands of minors, right? So it's trying to protect... We understand the goal is trying to protect minors from getting stuff that looks like candy, right? So, although the way that the bill was, put together is, in my opinion, right? It's my opinion,
right?
Just the wrong way. It's a little bit too much overreach, I guess you would say. They wanted to standardize everything, black and white, kind of take some of the identity away.
Exactly.
And take some of the colors away.
Freedom of speech pretty much for artists and the way that they are creative and they express themselves. But what I do want to say to branch off of that is I feel like there's just a miseducation still. When you look at cannabis, there was a big time when Reefer Madness made everybody feel like this was the most evil thing that you could do. They really didn't understand it. And when this is the feeling that I got, me personally, when all of the board started to walk in, I looked and I said, there's a disconnect on the knowledge of cannabis with these guys because they were older. They came from the generation when Reefer Madness was scaring people. They didn't know that there was benefits to it. They didn't understand it.
Right. And that's what was a little eye-opening for me being in the industry. I guess I sort of assumed that our lawmakers and the people that govern the cannabis program
get paid from the cannabis program.
The people that are managing it.
Right.
I guess I was assuming that they were more connected to the industry, right?
Right.
So it was great also to see how many people in the industry organically gathered. To come out and support taking this bill down. Right.
One of the shocking moments for me was when one of the representatives was saying that he's never even been inside of a cannabis store.
Right. That to me was
mind blowing. Because this is a product that's in your community. You're supposed to be representing the community. Why would you have not even if you don't have to consume? Because when you go into a dispensary, it's not like people are smoking. Now, if you come to a consumption lounge like Lazy Daze, people are consuming. You know what I mean? Which is a great thing. It's like a bar. You go to a bar, they're drinking alcohol. You come here, this is like a bar for people who smoke cannabis. But
shout out to Lazy Daze. For providing something that is very essential and I think kind of missed in the cannabis industry. There should be one of these spots on every corner, where
I personally don't want to go to a club where people are drinking they don't know how to handle their liquor, and then they might get crazy, and a fight might break out.
Right.
I'm sorry, but I've never been around potheads and a fight breaks out.
Right. I mean,
we might get into some crazy conversations, but
right, maybe a buffet might break out.
Something might happen that you might accidentally make some ghetto Dorito nachos.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
That's about it.
Anyways, let's get back to this disconnect because when he was describing that there was another guy that started talking and he was describing that he was actually for not pushing the bill forward because he was saying, I've gone in there and just to get in the door, they have to check your ID. Then they open the door. And then this is the part that got me on that was he was like, then they take the ID and they do whatever they want with it back in the back.
Right.
Which is
and that was cool to see somebody who was originally like in opposition
of
even medical
he
cannabis
didn't even want
years
it to
ago,
be here. Yeah.
Much less recreational cannabis, that he was actually for, stopping this bill going through because of its kind of overreach, right? And that it didn't, necessarily address what's already in place, right? And I think for the industry people that were there, like they were so adamant about, explaining that, hey, there's already rules and regulations in place, and like that are not being governed. They're not being governed right now, and so like there was no data to support a new law, in my opinion, that governs how cannabis is marketed, right? And I think that this House Bill 294, is very damaging to a lot of sub industries or supporting industries in the cannabis industry, like graphic design, even packaging, right? And I always think when stuff like this happens, like who is going to gain from these type of laws that are going to like basically be overreach, right? Like into identity, right? And again, New Mexico is a place that really prides itself on art and individualism and like, and the pride.
I mean, we even paint our cars.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
We paint everything.
Right.
Bro. We paint our clothes.
It doesn't matter.
Everything, you can.
Any space there is in New Mexico is going to get painted or some sort of expression is going to happen on it.
Right. I mean, look at the things that we pride, the sandias, right? The colors in the sandias and things like that, right? Things that we're very proud of in terms of color, the turquoise in our jewelry, right? So stuff like that. So, thinking about regulating and getting rid of color completely,
it's crazy.
In my opinion, is like asinine. You know what I mean? Like that is what separates New Mexico from other places. A lot of times is our art, and it's our culture.
And there's no other place other than one state here in the United States that has something as strict as this. Everywhere else that it's been brought to the table, they've said, no way, that's not happening. So, what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to make the packages black and white.
Correct.
And they're wanting it to have like a 2x2 inch place for you to put a logo, maximum, right? And they're thinking that unifying it will allow kids to understand that is a cannabis product. Do not touch it. Is their intention. And they're kind of addressing like younger kids. Like we're talking like 3, 4, 5, 6. And like we said, we do want to keep our kids safe. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's a certain way to go about it. So then what you have to look at is the industry has put so much money into buying packages, right? Because you don't just go and buy 2 or 3 packages. You buy thousands.
You're buying them by the thousands, 10,000s at a time.
And the bill did give 9 months for them to sell off all of their product. But at the same time, now they've spent thousands of dollars into having a digital designer create their creation. And then they go to print with it. And then they put it out with their product. And it's just like, when I think about it, I think about the ecosystem that comes with that. Because I know a lot of design. I design myself. I know a lot of designers. I know companies, not just the guy that was there, but they spend $17,000 on a machine so they can print up really cool stickers, to put on the product. And that's their livelihood. They weren't doing this before that. They were doing small scale stuff.
Because of the cannabis industry,
they're able to do it.
They're able now to do that, right? And so those industries, like I said, those supporting industries like graphic design or label printing or packaging printing, those economies or sub industries are now going to be, regulated, or, if everything has to be approved by a government agency, well, of course, they're going to be one guy, right? Like one guy's going to get that, right? And so that's, again, what my questions are. It's like, why is this coming about, but again, I get the end goal, like, I don't think packaging should have cartoons.
Well, the great point that was brought up by the legislation was that guy that was talking about how hard it was to get into a dispensary. He was like, no kid is going to go in a dispensary. Right. It's not like a grocery store where you're walking down and you could decide to go down the toy aisle or the cereal aisle. Right. You have to be 21 to be able to get it right. You have to be 21 to be able to get it and then take it home. Now, when it gets home, that's where we're seeing the problem. Right. The parents not being responsible and not keeping out, because they brought up a fact that 1,000 calls went in last year
to poison control. Right.
And 500 of those were kids that ended up going into the hospital because of that. But the amount of calls that came in made it 10% of the calls were cannabis, but they were trying to say half of the calls were cannabis.
Their numbers were off.
Their numbers were off. Yeah.
They were trying to say that over 50,000 calls had made it to poison control, and 50% of those.
It wasn't. It was 500.
Yeah, it was like 1%. It was like 500. Their numbers went from like 50,000 to 500 pretty fast. And I think that, like, that's the problem, is there's not enough data that is getting to them. And there is an abundance of data, obviously.
Yeah, there's research. You got to take time out, especially if you're going to try and push a bill forward. You got to really educate yourself and know about the industry in order for you to so the industry isn't saying, no, let's not make this safe for kids. They're saying we want to, but let's do it this way, because they have a website in place. Right. There's a website in place letting people know how they can do this. Right. There's also programs in different parts of New Mexico where they actually give you a safety box that they give you for free when you go into the dispensary, that you can lock your stuff away and it's away from your kids.
So, like, the industry is taking the measures to keep it safe from kids, right? Yeah. Like, we make sure we have childproof packaging, and, for the most part, the industry does not have images that are necessarily like designed to attract minors, right?
Well, that's the thing, is the original agreement when everything came in is there's certain stipulations. You can't use cartoons in your thing. You can't do stuff that's geared towards children. And they had some great examples of some product that is out now in dispensaries that wasn't really following that guideline. Right. And then the great thing about that was that some of the people in the legislation that just had regular questions that kind of destroyed this whole argument of this bill were like, well, with these examples you've handed me pictures of, have you ever gone over there and said, hey, you designed this and it's not to the guidelines?
And they haven't.
And they answered, no, we have not done that, because it's an uphill battle. And he's like, I'm sorry, what's the uphill battle about laws that are in place and they're breaking the law?
Exactly.
And he's like, well, then we have to go and we have to prove it and do this. But my thing is that the way I just barely recently got into this side of the cannabis industry. And so what I thought was that you have to send your design, and then whoever it is checks the design and approves it based off of the guidelines that were set. Is that not how it's done?
That's not how it works. Okay. No. So, I think the only way really that it is being managed or regulated is, I do know that they come to manufacturing companies, right? Okay. And they have right to look at all the inventory, and they will tell you, like, hey, this logo.
Oh yeah, so they stop into the dispensary.
They go before it even hits the dispensary. Okay. Usually, the CCD will come to a manufacturing facility, and they'll inspect and say, hey, okay, let me see your logos, let me see what you're putting on your product, and then once they see it, they can say, okay, no, this is attractive to a minor, right? Like, that's what is supposed to be happening, right? If that doesn't help, also they go to dispensaries and they look at the dispensary's inventory, and they say, okay, this product can be on your shelf or that can't, because it doesn't.
I'm just saying that this.
But again, they're not doing that. They're not regulating.
It sounds like you have to have a big staff, and from what I've understood about, I haven't done a lot of research, but they're super understaffed. I don't know.
CCD is, yes, and they are getting funding, right? But like, I see the cannabis program making $40 million plus a month.
Right.
And so the taxes on that have to be, 18%, right?
Right.
Like that's what the
There's-
state's making.
That's my
there's
big gripe,
millions of
dude.
dollars that are going into this, and so
Where are they going?
and the way that they want to fix this is through regulation, not through education. And I think that that's the solution here, is that there has to be better education in schools, in public places.
I don't think it's just
that
one
also
set
even our
way, though.
legislators
It's not one
need-
set way, though. You have to have a couple of different things, education and some other things in
Sure.
place, right?
Yeah, you have to have enforcement, right?
Yeah.
You have to have like law enforcement, and CCD has to enforce what's already there, right? But I think that there has to be an education part, and there has to be a connection part between these people that are writing these laws and stuff should be visiting facilities, right? They should be visiting manufacturing facilities or retail facilities so they can have a better grasp of what's actually going on in that industry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And so it was
But I'm
exciting.
happy that they rolled that today. So
It was exciting that it got rolled.
Yep.
And the overall consensus from the board was, we think you guys need to go back to the drawing board and come back with
Right.
something. Who knows what the future holds for it, but for now, what was expected in the bill, which really was not going to be good, like black and white
No.
with
Right.
and one font, mind you,
Yeah, one
font that
Like-
you could use,
Right.
And you put that one font, you can have color on your logo, but
Yeah.
you have to use this font. So
And
it's like,
it's
how
only-
many logos can you make out of this font
Right.
before?
I
It's
mean, I
like,
think
I've
there's
seen that
better
before.
solutions. Maybe making like a state tax stamp that goes on all edible products that is bright, colored, and maybe something like that, or
Like, for example,
better
for
solution.
cigarettes,
Yeah.
we were talking
Cigs.
about that. There's like a
Right.
little wrap on there, and it
yeah,
lets you know.
tobacco or even alcohol products, they have a tax stamp that goes on them. So,
Yeah.
I think that like putting something that on the packaging is maybe a better solution than like requiring all packaging to be
But definitely education,
like
period.
one color,
Right.
black
Because
and white.
where's Dare at? You know what I mean? Like, we need
Yeah,
a New
where are those
Mexico
places?
Dare where that goes and tells kids, hey, I'm going to hold up these two. One's an edible, one's a chip that you find in the store. Can you
Right.
tell which one?
And it's hard to differentiate now because there is nothing in place
Right.
for that. You know what I mean? It's all interpretation, right? And there's no enforcement.
Right.
So I get it. Like I know it
There
needs
are
to
some
be
stuff
fixed.
out there that looks similar to other.
Yeah.
There's
they showed
companies
stuff
out there
today.
that just completely jack.
Nutella, that one was the one that
Yeah,
was
that
shocking
one
me.
was pretty crazy.
I was like, that looks just like Nutella.
Yeah, it did.
Like,
There was no dodging it. They went for that and they ran with it. So, anyways, all right, man. We just wanted
Thank
to
you.
educate you on exactly what happened down in Santa Fe, and
Yep.
thank you to everyone that came out. I saw some people that I see on IG and TikTok all the time promoting.
Yeah.
Because as we know in this industry, it's very hard.
Yeah.
And when I say ecosystem, that helps feed my family. I'm a
Right.
part of cannabis. I'm a part of advertising. I'm in radio. I come up with creative ways to talk about what's inside people's dispensaries. And then I come up with ways to get people involved, whether it's a party bus that goes around to different places before a concert.
Woo.
I try and be creative and bring this to the
Yeah.
market to do something different.
No, thank you for being a voice. Like they said, we need more voices that are not necessarily influenced one way or the other, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm glad that you're new to this and that you're seeing it from kind of a open point of view, right? So
Right.
it's glad to see the community come out. Shout out to the people at Farmers,
Yes.
Endo. Just all the people that spoke today, all the people that showed up.
There was some
to be
great
there.
representation. Out of
Matt,
the 8 people that
so.
spoke, there was only one where I was like, we
Yeah.
could have had a better representative for us.
Yeah, I mean, I would
online.
love for them to let everybody speak.
Yeah.
and it's cool that there was like,
But it
more
would have been
people-
repetitive. I understand where it would
I
have
get
gone.
that.
Yeah.
They wanted to hear the opinions.
But the
of
great thing
those.
was when they said, "Is there anybody that wants to speak for this bill?"
right.
There was one guy. It was a state cop. He came up to the mic. He looks around and he says, "Really, I'm the only one because it's nothing but the cannabis industry in
Right.
this room,
Right.
taking up all the chairs, all the space, everything." So that's what was beautiful. But then he starts talking, and the part that got me is at the end when he said, "We want to keep cannabis out of the reach of children because of all the overdoses."
Hey. Right. What overdoses?
Is there
Right.
statistics on
I don't know.
overdosing on cannabis?
I mean, I don't think you can die from cannabis. I mean, unless maybe a ton of it falls on you and crushes you. That's probably about the only way.
How heavy is that cannabis?
Maybe you slip on some wax that fell on the ground and you bump your head.
I think the worst thing that's ever happened to me, and I'm not condoning smoking a lot of weed in a small amount of time, was I smoked so much weed I got sober again.
Yeah.
And I was like, what happened here? Why did this happen?
This is not good. Spent a lot of money.
So anyways, we just wanted to check in.
Yeah.
Cardo, thank you so much for
Thank you,
talking
AV.
with me and kind of
Sure.
clearing this up. I think this is awesome if we can continue to have people in the industry that understand the industry to figure out how we can regulate ourselves. That's what we need.
Yes.
We
and
need
we
a
need more of
board.
this,
Yeah.
podcasts and information.
Yes. More of it.
There's lots of resources out there. So,
Yeah.
reach out. Check out my IG,
Yep. Oh, go for it.
Yeah,
Tell them where to go.
Cardo NM. That's real easy. The Cardo NM on all platforms.
There you go. You can check me out, AVSBODEGA. That's AV's Bodega. Thank you for taking time out for hanging out with us and letting us talk about this bill and how it rolled over. We don't have the information, but I'm sure we will post it once we find out more about it. And in case you were wondering what went down, there you go. You can inbox us if you have any questions. Maybe we have answers. If not, we can try and find them and get them to you. So we're live here. Lazy Daze, Coffee Shop,
Lazy
Indian
Daze,
School,
shout out. Thank
Eubank. Come on by, and when you do, ask them about Stay Bad. Remember, smoke good, stay bad. Blunts and baddies in the house, and we've got a big, we've got a big
Don't forget
launch
February.
party on the 28th.
Yeah, end of the month,
Here.
February 28th
Yeah.
here at Lazy Daze. So
Jump on Disco
come out.
Hype.
It's the first two events were awesome.
Yeah, limited space, so make sure you tap in. Thank you again for tuning in. This is AV's Bodega, and we're out.